Welcome to the Feed Your Soul with Kim podcast. If you're looking to understand and end emotional eating and want to have peace with food, you are in the right place. We focus on intuitive eating and help you feed your soul. I'm Kim McLaughlin, your host. I am a psychotherapist, a coach, author, and speaker, as well as a former long-term dieter. Today, we are discussing SummerSoul because we're deep into the heat of the summer and the days are going fast. We need a time now to focus on intentionally embracing the summer and soaking up all of its goodness. And this really is a form of deep self-care. We all need this self-care with the world going at such a quick pace. In this episode, we'll talk about what is SummerSoul, 5 ways to get more SummerSoul, and practical doables to embrace SummerSoul. Let's get started. Today we're talking about SummerSoul, and I love that idea of SummerSoul because it is a combination of the summer and soul. You probably know most of my branding is called Feed Your Soul, Feed Your Soul Unlimited, Feed Your Soul with Kim, Feed Your Soul podcast. It's all around feeding your soul. And that name came to me a long time ago, and it connected the idea of food, but also the idea of feeding ourselves in a larger way, feeding our soul. And when I thought about what's going on for the summer and what's happening for me and also what's happening for clients that I'm talking to, there's a lot about the summer that I think leaves us feeling tired at the end. And I want to talk about how we can have a summer soul where it's really about us. What happens in the summertime, especially for women, is that we really end up having more to do than less to do because kids are out of school and there's driving. There's also vacations and planning of the vacations and doing of the vacations. And when we'd like to have less responsibility, if we're not careful, we actually have more responsibility. Other kids come over to the house to play with your kids. So you have more kids around. There's a lot of frenzied activity and things that are happening that have to do a lot with other people. Go to this party, go to that, go do this, go do that. And we forget to take a minute, take that deep breath and go, what do I want? And where do I put myself in this list? It is, if we're going to have a summer soul, we have to begin to focus back in on ourselves. And that's what I think that definition is. Summer soul is the what about me? And how am I going to be more present in myself? As I was thinking about this talk, I really resonated with the idea that I think that soulful look inside often shows up in the wintertime, during the time of the winter solstice, the darkest night, the longest night, where it's really that quiet time and darkness where we really do a lot of reflection and looking inside about what's going on with ourselves and what is our inner contemplation. And I think of summer, and summer is the months of doing, being active, being out there, of heat, of movement. And what I've been thinking about this year is how do we have summer soul where we do that reflection, we do that downtime, we do that inner being with ourselves in the midst of the summertime, because the summertime has the calling, I think, of being carefree and relaxed. But I think for many of us, it doesn't end up being this way. I know for myself, this summer has ended up where I look on my calendar and it's like it's booked with this and booked with this and booked with this and drive here and do this and take my kid here. And I knowingly did all that, but then it's made me think about what about me? What about myself? And what is it I want to do? I talked in the previous podcast on the summer bucket list, summer as self-care. And we talked about the summer bucket list. And that is where you start thinking about what is it you want to do. And when we combine this idea of summer soul and that bucket list, it can be what's on your bucket list for the summer that you want to do for you. That is solely about yourself becoming more soulful with yourself. That takes some work to make it happen. What I find is that it doesn't happen automatically, that we really have to be intentional, that we end up having the end of the summer comes, September comes, kids are back in school, everything's back to normal, right? And we then don't have the feeling that we've had any kind of downtime over the summer. It's been just a frenzy. So it takes intention. It takes intention to have summer soul. So what can that look like? And that's what we're going to talk about today, is really how are we going to make this summer soul happen? The first thing I think of when we talk about having a summer soul is scheduling me time. And it really means, what is it that would give me pleasure? I love that question. That question we asked a lot when we talked about the summer bucket list is, what is it that would give you pleasure? What is it that would bring you joy? And really looking at that. And I think it goes beyond the idea of what's the regular things we call it? Oh, burning a candle and having a bath or having a pedicure. But it really, to me, becomes beyond that. And really, what is it I need for myself? And what is the way I'm going to make my mental wellness, my mental health, my emotional wellness, the priority? And I think that becomes a deeper look at what you need to do. So how do we get to that spot? First is we've got to really establish some boundaries for ourselves and some boundaries for others. To me, that means when we set boundaries is, first, I decide I'm going to do this. I'm going to be more responsive to my own needs. And what is my body craving? What is my soul craving? What is my mind craving? What am I craving socially? And let's do more of that. But that means then that we have to say no to some things. That means we have to say no to the things that don't work and yes to the things that do. And I know that that can be hard because it means telling people no. Often is like, no, I don't want to do that. No, that isn't the right thing for me. No, I'm not going to do that. But we first have to decide, I need to be more important than all of that out there. And I need to come back home to myself. And where is my yes? And where is my no? And that's where boundaries come in. Another way that boundaries come in is starting to tell people that you live with, your partner, your children, your family members, I'm going to start taking some time this summer for myself. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but I really want to focus back on me and focus on what I need. And it becomes telling people. So then they expect it. When you say, no, that thing doesn't fit for me, they know where you're coming from because you've already talked about it. You've already said, there are going to be some things I'm going to do where I'm going to say no because I want to do something more for myself. You cannot say everything. You cannot say yes to everything. And this is about really getting back in. When we talked about having that me time, then how would I do that? And that partly is about saying no to things that just don't fit. And recognizing that other people might be unhappy with that. They might be unhappy with you saying, no, I don't want to do that, because they would like you to do it. And maybe you've always done it that way, but you want to do it differently. So that's one thing, is establishing boundaries and telling people that you're going to be responsive to your own boundaries and what you need. It also takes planning ahead. I found that for a summer soul, I can't be as spontaneous as I think I could be, or I'd like to be. I'd like to be really spontaneous and just, here, free flow this and that. But I got to tell you, I just wrote out my calendar for next week and looked at my calendar for the month, and it's filling up. it's got a lot of things in it. So there are things that are in the schedule that I've already said yes to, but it's going to fill up if I don't start planning. What about me? What do I want to have in my schedule? I was just looking at my schedule for, this is a long weekend here in the States, and I started looking at where I want to read. I have a new book that I got. And so where would I like to read my book? And I'm looking at my calendar. Oh, here's some time for this and that. Also time to be in the water. If any of you know me well, I love the water. I love to be outside. I love to just be quiet by the pool and in the water. And so I'm planning time for that, because if I don't plan for it and don't plan ahead, it's just not going to happen. So this is critical to plan ahead. And it might be you plan out, you book out time in your calendar for yourself, but you're not quite sure what that's going to mean. Okay, just put it in the calendar and then decide as time goes on, what is it you would like to do? I also think with this planning ahead in terms of your summer soul is to plan ahead with your vacations about how are you going to fit in your own needs in a vacation. I was just talking with somebody earlier today who had scheduled a vacation that's totally around what their kids want to do, their bucket list for their kids. And I said, what about you? And they go, you know what? I'm going to forego my needs for the kids this vacation. Like, well, I was talking, so we started to talk about, well, maybe there could be an opportunity for you to put in your time. And we talked about how that could actually happen. So then the vacation is a time for you to get recharged and not to come home feeling like you need a vacation from the vacation. So that's planning ahead. Another thing that becomes really important if we're going to have a summer soul, where this focus on ourselves and what do we need to really feed our soul, is to delegate responsibilities and to start planning for other people to help out. And what are the things that need to be done? What doesn't need to be done? And who can I delegate it to? Who else can help take responsibility? Asking your partner to take over a meal or asking for help with certain things is really valuable. Also at work or in your business, where can I ask for help? Who can I ask to do certain things? This is an opportunity as we're connecting to our feeding our soul. How do I give away some responsibilities? And notice if you're holding on really tight to those responsibilities, maybe those are the ones that are, it's maybe prime time to let them go and give them to somebody else. The other thing I think of in terms of delegation is, what can I ask of the kids? With my daughter, it started this summer and I just said, you have more time on your hands. I still work. I still have all the things I need to do. I'd like you to help out. And these are the things I would like for you to do. So on a daily basis, she has more tasks to do since she has more free time. And she said yes, because she has bought into the idea that she needs to be responsible and she's old enough to start helping out more. And things have been delegated to her. So the kids, I don't think the kids should be off limits in terms of helping and getting some other people in line with things that will free stuff off your plate so you have time to feed your summer soul, right? And also when we look at delegation is to really embrace the idea that you're not weak, you're not irresponsible, you're not incapable of doing it, but that it allows other people to be involved in the family, involved in the business, involved in the work. And it allows them to be helpful. It allows them to be helpful. And people like to be helpful. It's often their good pleasure to be helpful and to not have you be stressed. So making a list of what could I delegate? What could I delegate? And start doing that, because the value is then you get to feed your summer soul and take some of the pressure off yourself and get reconnected with yourself, because this is what I invite you to do this summer. So how do we do that? Is part about moving into this summer soul is to stay present with yourself. Stay present with yourself, because this summer can be the time of being scattered here, there, and everywhere. All these things that we're doing and not coming back to ourselves. So how do we stay present in the moment is really about taking a deep breath and being with the thing you're doing. I'm taking a deep breath and just sitting with this information that I'm giving and sitting with this ideas that I've had that I want to share with all of you. It could be while you're sitting watching a baseball game, taking a deep breath and really sitting there and noticing what's going on in front of you. What's interesting? What are the smells? What are the sounds? What are the feelings that are going on? What are the tastes of the things that you're experiencing? And being present with those things, being present to what's going on. I love to sit outside by the pool and just listen to the sounds of the pool, feeling the heat of the sun on my legs and taking a deep breath and listening to the sounds. I love listening to the sounds of the birds while I'm outside, the sounds of the kids playing in the pool. I love all that. And it gets me back connected to myself. And then I have that more soulful present opportunity that I don't get when I'm disconnected. So finding ways to stay present will give you that opportunity when you're in the moment of things that things whatever you're doing feels most soulful for you. And lastly, really doing the things that you want to do. We said scheduling the me time, scheduling the things for yourself. Well, then it takes doing it. Get it done. Do the thing you want to do. If you want to go, my thing is I love taking my stand-up paddleboard out and scheduling the time and actually doing it. We just did that last weekend and I loved it. I loved being in the lake and the paddleboard and, practicing doing it better, practice being, better on my stand-up paddleboard. That was fun for me. And it might not be that for you. It could be sitting with a book in the air-conditioned house. Do that, but schedule the time and then give yourself the opportunity to do it. And as you're doing it, that's staying present, just staying present in the book, staying present in the music, staying present in the baseball game, staying present in your stand-up paddleboard. Do that. And I really see this as that opportunity for the summer soul to come out. If any of you are interested, the summer bucket list is still available. I'll leave a link in the notes below, because you can have this opportunity to get a summer bucket list. And it's really the opportunity to write out what it is you want to do and then encourage yourself to experience a summer soul by doing those things, right? We can make a list all over the place. We can have an idea, but until we set the boundaries to other people that we're going to do it, we decide that we really want to take our me time, that we want to stay present in it and really get all the goodness, that soulful goodness of what's going on, then we have more opportunities to be present with ourselves. And truthfully, the more we have opportunities to be present with ourselves, the more opportunities that we have to come to the table differently, metaphorically and in the physical sense. We have the opportunity to come differently to our table with how we talk with our family and our friends and at work. But let's make this summer soul, a time to be really present with ourselves. And I will be talking about more about this on the Feed Your Soul with Kim podcast, because I think this is an opportunity that we can miss if we let it go too long and don't really focus on how we're going to be present. So I encourage you to do that. I'd love for you to give me feedback on what you're doing. Send me a email, info@feedyoursoulunlimited.com. I want to hear what you're doing. I want to hear, or you can join me on Instagram, Feed Your Soul Unlimited, and start responding to the ideas of this summer soul, because it can be valuable. I look forward to hearing what you guys are doing, and I look forward to talking with you later. Bye-bye.